Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my edition of the 2 books with 1 stone tag. This tag was originally created by Sean the Book Maniac, and I was tagged by Meghan Hanet, my sister. So thank you to both of you, Meghan for tagging me and Sean for creating the tag. So the first question is the second last book you read, and this has a twofold answer. There's Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan. This was the last one that I physically read, but I haven't finished it yet. And Graveyard Book is the last one I actually finished because I have an unfortunate tendency to start lots of books and then they take me forever to finish. But I will finish them, it just takes a lot of time. So yeah, these two together. Number 2 is what is the second book from the top of your TBR? Mine is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I started reading Neil Gaiman this year. Obviously, you know, the Graveyard Book is a big one. And I have Neverwhere in my Audible. I'm actually waiting for it, but I want to finish a couple of other things first. I've started a few things and I want to hopefully get a couple of these books off my list before I start another one. So that one's pretty near the top, but not quite there. So we'll see when I start that one. And question 3 is, what are 2 2-star reads? I don't read a ton of books that I dislike, usually because I tend to research books before I read them, so I more or less know if I'm going to like it before I read it. However, there are exceptions. So first answer to this is Robinson Crusoe. The thing is, I can totally acknowledge why this book is considered important, and I can see some things that people like about it, but I really don't like it. I found it to be very lacking in structure, and to be fair, this was one of the first novels ever written, so I understand why it was lacking in structure, because the structure hadn't been fully fleshed out yet. So, okay, fair. But I also just found the main character super unlikable. I don't like his interactions with quite a few of the other characters, especially Friday. And I just find him unlikable. So yeah, those things together, it doesn't really help my opinion of the book, especially given the fact that a good chunk of this book is just Robinson Crusoe himself, for, you know, obvious reasons, shipwrecked and all that stuff. So yeah. And then my second 2-star book is Return to Howlet Inn by James Howe. This book, okay, I did read the entire Beniculus series this year, but Return to Howlet Inn, I believe it's the second last one, but the reason why I'm having trouble remembering these things about it is because I just found it really forgettable. Which is a little sad for me because I really enjoyed the first 2 books in this series, and the first of which was Howlet Inn. So when they go back to Howlet Inn, I can't even say what I didn't like about it because I don't remember what happened. So yeah, that's my biggest complaint with that book. I do like James Howe as a writer, I just don't like this book of his. And number 4, 2 great books by the same author. Now, I haven't read this author in quite a while, but I did really love both of these books. And that is Lois Lowry. The books I'm picking are The Giver and Number the Stars. I have read The Giver's first 2 sequels. I haven't read Sun yet because it wasn't out when I initially read the series. But I really enjoyed both of these books. Number the Stars, it immerses you into an aspect of World War II that gets talked about, but not necessarily in this setting. Like, I have heard about Jewish people having to hide from Nazis and having to escape, but I've never seen it in the setting of Denmark specifically. I've always seen it in either Germany or France. So this one, it shows it in a bit of a different setting, in a different way. And Lois Lowry, you can tell she's taking this content seriously. And then in The Giver, you know, it's an extremely famous book. It does such a good job of dealing with this environment, and it raises so many questions. I love the character of Jonas. The Giver himself is also really good. And it's really just, I love seeing where the story goes. I love Jonas's relationship with Gabriel. I'm not gonna say anything really about that, but because I don't want to give away spoilers. But yeah, I just love this book. I might do a more detailed review it sometimes. Sometimes I don't really know, but I don't want to say too much here. So just if you haven't read The Giver, I totally recommend it. It's really good. Okay. And number 5, 2 books you bailed on or books you wished you bailed on. So number 1 is The Princess Academy by Gail Carson Levine. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with Princess Academy. I can see why people like it. I just didn't. I found it kind of depressing, and I didn't really like the environment it was taking place in, so I just stopped reading it. This was a long time ago, but it's one that stood out in my mind as being a little disappointed that I didn't like it. And then for my second book, I'm going to list Beyond the Reflection's Edge by Brian Davis. It's since been republished as Time Echoes. I haven't read that newly published version. It might be better, and honestly, Beyond the Reflection's Edge might even be okay. I don't really know. Because the issue is, Beyond the Reflection's Edge is by the same author who wrote Dragons in Our Midst, which at the time was one of my favorite series. And so when I heard that Brian Davis was writing a new series, I got excited and decided to read it. But it was very, very different in tone and structure, and even to a certain extent genre from Dragons in Our Midst. And so I just lost interest and stopped reading. It may have been good. I don't know. And since it's been republished, that new version might be really good. I have no idea, but it's one that I did end up DNFing because I just didn't care. And number 6, 2 favorite books from the year. That is going to be The Graveyard Book and Hamlet. I've talked about both of these in previous videos, so I'll link to the full videos that I did on these, but they're just so good. Hamlet, of course, it's a 400-year-old play that's been popular the entire time it's been out. But yeah, it's such beautiful poetry, really interesting themes. I love the characters, so yeah, amazing story. The Graveyard Book is obviously quite a bit newer, but honestly very similar reasons why I like it. It's very well written. It has, the central character especially is amazing, but Silas is my favorite character. And yeah, it's just wonderful. I love the ideas it presents, and just the world it builds is really cool. And Bod, the main character, is amazing. Number 8 is the book you've read twice. I am going to go with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yes, I'm using the dramatized version because my copy of the book is in a different town right now. But yeah, anyway. So Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I picked this one because honestly I had a hard time picking a book I've read twice, because generally I either reread a lot or I don't reread at all. Or if I do reread, I only reread parts. I tend to analyze more than thoroughly reread. But Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is one of the exceptions because I've listened to this dramatized version hundreds of times, possibly thousands, I don't really know. But I've only thoroughly read the book itself twice. Once when I was probably about 10, and then once a year or so ago. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. Well, I love this whole series. I'm working on a series right now called Drawn into Narnia. There's a couple episodes out right now, but the rest is taking time, but it will come. So I'll link the first episode of that as well for this one, which is actually about Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, so that works well. And number 9 is 2 fabulous quotes from books you've read recently. So I decided to go with ones from my 2 favorites for the year. So first off, I have Though This Be Madness, Yet There Is Method in It from Hamlet. That one, it's just so interesting because the context is that Hamlet is basically pretending to be mad, but also kind of messing with people. And he's kind of using the madness as a shield for that. And this is what Polonius says in reference to his behavior. And it's just such an interesting idea because it's true that things often get dismissed because they seem just insane. But then if you really look at it, there's something very powerful and or important or useful or even effective in what's happening. So yeah, that's something that I like. And then my quote from The Graveyard Book is, "You're brave. You're the bravest person I know, and you're my friend. I don't care if you're imaginary." Now, the context of this quote is that Bod, the main character, has made a friend, and the friend is leaving. She's moving to a different city and probably won't see him again. They're little kids at this point. I think they're about 5. And she doesn't really know if she believes he's real because he's a kid who lives in a graveyard that no one else has seen. So it's a little bit weird. And her parents believe it's an imaginary friend, so she's kind of been semi-convinced that he is. But anyway, the reason why I included this as one of my quotes is because I think it fits well with the idea of storytelling. I mean, obviously, the things that you feel for a fictional character are very, very different than than the kind of relationship you can have with a real person. But at the same time, fictional characters can affect you a lot. Whether they're, a childhood imaginary friend or a character from a book or a character from a TV show or a movie. So having this having this character say, you're my friend, I don't care if you're imaginary, is really, I feel like it's very inspirational, and especially her referring to him as brave, because I know when I was a kid, characters were often a way to be braver than I could be in real life. That was one of the big things about Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for me, was there were children who were doing these brave things that I didn't think I could do in real life. So, yeah, I just weirdly relate to that. Also, I have a bit of an honorable mention for the line, "Even strength must bow to wisdom sometimes," from The Lightning Thief, and that's Annabeth talking to Percy. And number 10, tag any number of booktubers. It must be divisible by 2. Since this tag has been out for a while, I'm only going to tag 2 people. I'm going to go with Totally Pretentious and Books and Things. So if you guys want to do that tag, that would be awesome, but of course no pressure. And if anyone else wants to do it, please let me know, and feel free to consider yourself tagged and do the tag. So if you guys have any answers to these questions that you'd like to share but don't want to make your own video, feel free to put them down below, or I would just love to discuss my own answers with you, whichever you prefer. Have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. See you later.